Random. Shark. So if you haven't heard, Logan Paul, YouTube's resident face of suicide, has recently been temporarily demonetized by YouTube itself, citing the reason for this decision as a recent pattern of behavior. And while a lot of people seem to be commending YouTube for taking this action, I'm wary to see this as a massive triumph for the platform. Mainly because, to me, it sets a dangerous precedence of YouTube being able to completely demonetize an entire channel based on what seems to be just outrage from its consumer base. And as most people seem to be very aware of by now, outrage isn't always justified. Now granted, there's a long laundry list of things that Logan has done to get to this point. Acting like an ass in Japan, showing a hanging man in the suicide forest, and his most recent antics, as stated by YouTube, of tasing a dead rat, jokingly giving CPR to a fish from his pond, and encouraging his audience to do the Tide Pod challenge.
Cleaner filled with poisonous chemicals that can cause burns.
All of these things being pretty conclusive evidence that either Logan lacks the mental capacity to act like he's got a second-grade education, or simply doesn't understand why he's been getting this backlash in the first place. And arguably, this is the only real impactful punishment that YouTube can take against him to let him know that he needs to get a brain, seeing as suspending his YouTube Red series and removing him from Google Preferred has taught him nothing. But even still, a lot of coverage of what YouTube's had to say on the matter, to me, brings up very questionable standards as to what could potentially be damaging to the broader creator community. Alright, so don't tase dead rats. I mean, it's not an excessively difficult one for me to avoid, but you may want to inform Filthy Frank or anyone who might try to follow in similar shoes that degrading dead rats is now off limits and could get monetization removed from your channel.
You find real gems like this, you know, this is a dead rat.
There's also now the limitation of giving CPR to a fish on camera. And I mean, I've got to tell you, this one hits a little too close to home for me. It looks like I'm not going to be able to take the mouth-to-mouth prank invasion method of success to the top of the YouTube charts after all. Sorry guys. And the final cited recent reason is the one that worries me the most. Him encouraging his audience to do the Tide Pod challenge, which, if you're unaware, is the ingenious task of munching down on a Tide Pod. And in watching all his most recent videos, how fun that was, he's mentioned the challenge twice. Here,
the media is thirstier than ever, and the Tide Pods have never been tastier.
And here.
YouTube's been f***ing whack. Kids are eating Tide Pods now. What is that? When I was a kid, I ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, not poisonous f***ing laundry things.
Both in the Logan Paul is back video. And he also mentioned the challenge on Twitter with a tweet saying swallowing one Tide Pod per retweet. And I think there is no question that the line from the trailer is a joke. Sarcasm from the narrator further corroborated by Logan calling it crazy later in the video. And seeing as I'm someone who's just a little fond of sarcasm, it's worrying to see this cited as a reference to wrongdoing. And the same could be said of his Twitter comment. It's an obvious joke. You could perhaps argue that the joke is insensitive, but it's a joke nonetheless. Not to even mention that, if this tweet was what YouTube was referencing, that's like cross-platform punishment, which is a whole other discussion in and of itself. And given the context of what YouTube said, it sets a dangerous precedence to remove advertisements from an entire channel, albeit temporarily, if they see content on that channel that they see as potentially damaging to the broader creator community in terms of advertisability. And while this time it may be Logan Paul, arguably the most hated person on the platform at the moment, next time it could be someone like iDubbbz. Do you really think advertisers want to run their advertisements on a channel where a white guy has repeatedly said the N-word? Because I doubt they care about any context that he may bring with him to that debate. Or how about PewDiePie? He got hit with similar punishments of removing his YouTube Red series and taking away his Google Preferred status based on a smear campaign for offensive jokes. So, say he makes another crack about being a Nazi. Who's to say that's not a pattern of behavior that YouTube would see as damaging to the broader creator community? So since we now have this standard to punish people who have in YouTube's eyes hurt the platform, do we just demonetize him? Now, it is certainly possible that this is an isolated incident, and it could never rear its head again on the platform. I mean, as I stated, Logan has proven repeatedly that he's learned nothing from his recent backlash, and it's been on full display in vlogs such as this, where he essentially mocks people who were talking smack on him.
And a lot of people have been saying mean things over Twitter. It's like, it's a odd form of cyberbullying, which I think is like a whole nother issue in itself. But I'm always curious, what are these people like in real life?
However, I do think there is reason for pause here, seeing as the recent examples given were done by Logan for comedy. Unfunny, ineffective, immature shot comedy, as in the case with The Fish and the Rat, but still, edgy comedy. And in a time where YouTube has been cracking down on what it's going to advertise on, such as with upping the requirements for advertising a few weeks ago by requiring 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time for eligibility, I think a lot of people are overlooking what could become a troublesome precedent to protect the larger community because it's happening to Logan Paul. And as Logan Paul put so eloquently himself,
because, Logan Paul, right?
Anyways, that's the video, guys. Like it, don't like it, let me know. I made this video because I'm very surprised by how warm a reception this announcement got. I mean, sure, you have people like Colossal mocking YouTube for seemingly taking a harsher stance against dead rats than dead humans, but majority of what I've seen are people applauding YouTube for its swift action on the topic. Personally, I would have rather seen the videos in which he did these things that are, according to YouTube, in violation of the terms of service, get demonetized. Or even him get striked if they see these actions worthy of violating the community guidelines. But for a blanket demonetization of his entire channel seems more like a reactionary response to the outrage rather than them standing on principles as stated in the YouTube TOS. And as I'm writing this, another article has come out saying that YouTube will remove discoverability from videos that are offensive. Maybe I'm being overly paranoid, but it sounds like a pretext to give the site an even more family-friendly coat of paint than it already has. And if that's the case, while it could make the site more advertiser-friendly and perhaps more profitable, I'm not looking forward to less freedom with monetization or undiscoverable content. Shark pride for life, bruh.